Welcome, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start out with a roll call. Ms. Humphries, will you announce the roll?
President Osborne.
Here.
Vice President Holcomb.
Here.
Member Gresham.
Here.
Member Kazi.
Here.
Member Spear.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. And can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And our pledge will be led by the Madison Heights students.
And they'll be said in both English and in Spanish.
Yes.
We'll do Spanish first. Spanish.
So whenever you are ready.
Yo prometo delatar a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y de la República que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Go ahead.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you want to turn around and face the audience, if people want to take a quick picture.
Good job.
Very well done. All right, while we're taking photos, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
We have Ms. Kazi with the motion and Ms. Spear with the second. Please vote.
Oops.
All right, the motion passes. Do we have a need for executive session? Hearing none, moving on to item 4.1, presentations and recognitions. Dr. Baca.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team. Tonight, we are happy to have MDCTA present the You Make the Difference in Shining Star Awards. Presenting on behalf of the MDCTA is Ms. Sierra Karsten, first grade teacher from Madison Simus. Ms. Karsten.
Good evening, Governing Board, Dr. Baca, and executive team. I am delighted to present the You Make the Difference in Shining Star Awards. We present them. The MDCTA presents and Madison administration love to recognize the certified and classified staff who truly demonstrate Madison's vision of inspiring passion for learning and leading in an ever-changing world. Our first recipient is Caitlin Griffinberg. Ms. Griffinberg is an extremely effective teacher. This year, Ms. Griffinberg adjusted her strategies to ensure student achievement while teaching online. She also collaborates with her colleagues and shares her strategies and instructional practices with all virtual teachers. By doing this, she has helped both individual teachers and the program to be successful. Ms. Griffinberg always makes sure she is correctly implementing district expectations and programs. She has gone out of her way to ensure that students were feeling good about their online experience, and she consistently looked to improve her teaching effectiveness through collaboration and professional development. Caitlin addresses both student learning as well as the social emotional support of kids. In addition, she communicates effectively with parents. Parents consistently report that she is helpful and effective with their child. Ms. Griffinberg excelled as a teacher in the very challenging environment of online learning. She created a positive classroom atmosphere, focused on student learning, and effectively collaborated with her colleagues to help create an excellent online learning environment for students. Many families choose to stay with Ms. Griffinberg's online class, even though they felt physically safe to return to in-person. Congratulations.
I can have the next building hear me.
People online.
All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Madison has been my home for almost a decade. I started out here student teaching, and it's just been my home. Everything that I've learned has been from amazing instructors, great admin support, district office people. Thank you for all of your hard work as well. Thank you, Mr. George. He's been my boss for the year, so it's been a different year, but it's been really fun getting to help get MVA up and running in a time of and these students have been amazing, and families, and just Madison as a whole. So thank you so much.
And I can second that she does have a good cheek voice, and I turn it off. I was like, you're not in class anymore. Turn it off.
Our next recipient is Anne Van Way, social worker at Madison No. 1. Anne Van Way truly makes a difference for the students at Madison No. 1 Middle School. Anne joined the Wildcat team at the start of the 21-22 school year, and we shudder to imagine what this tough year would have looked like without her, as she quickly became a tremendous asset to our campus. She is naturally gifted at connecting with students, shows incredible empathy, intelligence, sound-making decisions, and in the best interest of the children, and focuses on solutions when tackling hard situations. She exemplifies the core beliefs of the Madison School District. Focuses on solutions, walks the talk that each child deserves a truly excellent education, and has dedicated herself to the success of all students. An integral part of our SCL team, her excellence comes from her personality and her passion. Anne has a true gift for reaching students and supporting their parents who struggle with issues beyond our control. And her plethora of connections throughout the Valley make her an extra valuable resource. Her strengths include building a positive and trusting relationship with students and families, and being an amazing teammate to our administration and front office staff. Calm in the face of stressful situations, she takes the success of our students and campus personally. Her professionalism, excellence, and compassion are unmatched, and we are proud of her each and every day. Thank you, Anne, for all you've done for the No. 1 student body this school year.
We have a microphone for you and everything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's funny because when I actually applied for this job, I was working as medical social worker, Hospice of the Valley, and Principal Ball called me to offer me the job, and I missed that part of the call. Said, okay, it's been nice talking to you. I think Dr. Riley and Jody are on the call, and I thought, I should call them back. I think I missed some of that call. And I called back, I said, I just want to make sure, did I miss anything? She goes, actually, we offered you a job. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. So anyway. So this is my first year. I've been a social worker for a long time. I thought, I worked for DCS for, 15 years. Like, nothing could be worse than DCS. No offense to DCS. I work for Phoenix Fire part-time. That's kind of a hard job. I worked at Hospice of the Valley, ASU. Going to a school, that's not going to be that difficult. Little did I know, walking in those doors, I have a new respect for the staff, and especially I'm very blessed to be at No. 1. But it's such a privilege and an honor that I am at a school that values children, and that each child matters, and they really do, and that we care about them. And also it's a privilege to be a social worker, and it's a privilege to be at the school district. There's a reason my journey brought me to Madison, because I worked with them when I worked for the department, and I feel very honored and very, very lucky and blessed. And I feel very honored to be, after your, just thank you, congratulations to you too, because to be in the honor of people that have been honored before. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to be mindful of time, I will give you back the mic.
And it was beach day today, that's why it's so bright. I love it.
I would wear that on a normal day. just not tall enough for this. I'm sorry. Our next recipient is Coach David Van Way. Coach Van Way has been the Heights PE teacher for almost 10 years. Coach brought a new spark to our PE program when he was hired. Coach Van Way ensures that the PE standards are delivered in fun and engaging ways during class. He is great at breaking down the PE skills for students, which in turn make them better athletes. Just ask him about the T-elbow throw and how students learn how to properly throw a ball. It is common for a coach to incorporate sportsmanship and sports strategy into all lessons. From teaching the students why using the backboard gives you a higher predictability of making your shot, to strategically using your teammates for making a great play. Students are always learning valuable lessons. During remote learning, Coach was able to impress the students and staff with his videos to the families and his encouraging ideas for students to stay active while learning online. Remote learning was also a perfect time to introduce different videos about the 2020 Olympics. Each lesson would end with an Olympic moment, and students were amazed at all of the different competitive events. During remote learning, Coach Van Way was still able to start each lesson with a warm-up, and he motivated students to reach their personal best in terms of number of sit-ups and push-ups achieved. Coach also runs a very organized and successful Jump Ropes for Hearts event and Field Day and grade level events. These two events are kid favorites at Heights. Coach is also a wonderful member of the Madison community, volunteering to coach our students in the different community sports leagues like Rams and St. Francis Athletic Association. Coach Van Way is truly deserving of this award and makes a difference every day in the lives of our students. Coach Van Way is not here to accept this award, but Ms. Gossett will take it to him tomorrow. You don't want to get no pictures? Our next Shining Star recipient is Jenny Block. She works in the Developmental Preschool at Heights. Walking into the Developmental Preschool, you can see many of Jenny Block's creative touches through her artwork and that of her students. She has been a dedicated paraprofessional with the Developmental Preschool for 8 years. Jenny inspires children and adults to use their imagination and creativity on a daily basis. When creating the play centers for the week, she finds inventive ways to tie themes and learning skills together to allow the children to have a full circle experience. Jenny demonstrates a genuine respect and love for all children in the program and truly wants to help them grow. Jenny has become a natural leader on the Developmental Preschool team, engaging new staff members and collaborating with existing teammates to ensure all the preschool rooms have what they need for each theme. Jenny is a lifelong learner and continues to better herself every day, which is reflected in the conversations and relationships she builds with the staff and families alike. The Developmental Preschool is proud to call Jenny our shining star.
I was like, maybe I need to go home. Hi, I just want to say thank you for this award. It was completely unexpected when I saw Dr. Baca and Victoria. I totally thought it was for the teacher in my classroom, whom I love very much, and she's very deserving of the You Make a Difference award. So I was just like kind of moving the kids along, like wash your hands, put your backpacks away, and so I was completely like shocked, but so happy. And I love hearing what they wrote about me. It's very sweet and unexpected, but I do love my job. I have the best job ever. And my family, Joshua worked at Simus for 15 years, and my boys went through Madison schools, and so we love Madison, and I'm just very grateful to work here. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Alex Flores, custodian at Madison No. 1 Middle School. Alex Flores is an incredibly hardworking member of the custodial team and takes pride in his work. Beyond all he does to help to keep our facilities safe and clean, he is an integral part of making Madison No. 1 a beautiful place for students to learn and grow. Everyone loves Alex. The students always say hi to him, and many light up when they see him. He goes out of his way to get students what they need to be prepared for school each day, and his giving heart reaches the entire student body. We can count on him to listen to the students and always help out when he can. He has a special demeanor about him as he does his work and has shown up with the same positive, caring, and calmness every single day. When our plant manager, Lori, joined the team, he promised he would help her in any mechanical way needed, and he has lived up to that promise in every way. Nothing stumps Alex, and the custodial crew has learned so much from him. Perhaps Alex's strongest quality is problem solving. If he doesn't know how to fix or do something, he immediately starts figuring it out. When tasked with figuring out a problem, he always replies, "Let's do it." Visit the No. 1 campus and you can catch him going the extra mile for thorough cleaning. He is exceedingly organized and neat and makes everything look good. He comes up with ideas, big and small, that just make everyone's jobs easier, and the custodial team performs better because of his strategic thinking. It is top-notch qualities like that which make Alex irreplaceable. On behalf of the entire Madison No. 1 family, we are truly grateful for all of his help and know-how, as well as his skills and ideas. Alex, you help make No. 1 shine. I think Ms. Ball is going to be accepting this award.
Yes. Alex, I hope he's watching at home. He's with his wife, and so I would like to give this to him tomorrow.
Our next shining star is from the DO, Miss Anita Gamage. Anita Gamage serves as a human resource supervisor, where she coordinates the district guest teacher program and works with certified staff. Anita inspires others with her positive attitude, professionalism, and friendliness. Anita cares deeply about education and all of the staff that she works hard to support. She is always available to listen and support staff when they experience life's challenges. Anita sincerely cares for the guest teachers she supervises. She coordinates professional development opportunities on topics that are relevant to their role as guest teacher. She looks for opportunities to recognize guest teachers for their contributions to Madison. She goes above and beyond to make our guest teachers feel valued and a part of the Madison community. Anita always goes above and beyond in her work to convince guest teachers to take vacant assignments. She personally calls guest teachers early in the morning, late at night, and on weekends to keep that connection. Anita is the consummate professional and team player. She does whatever it takes to provide support for staff and her colleagues on the human resources team. She can always be counted on to step up whenever necessary to complete a project. Thank you for all that you do to support the Madison School District.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I had like this speech prepared and everything, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Just thank you so much. I feel very honored and grateful to be up here. When I came to Madison 5 years ago, not everyone knows my story, but I was in education as a teacher and administrator for 17 years before I came to HR. So I was brand new to HR. Madison welcomed me with open arms. I had a lot to learn. Deb Huffaker was my boss at the time, and she was super awesome as well. And then she left me a year later. We knew she was leaving, but and it's just been a roller coaster of a ride, but it's been awesome. I've learned so much, and I have the best boss that anyone can ask for. Dr. Ramona Lomeli is awesome. I have the greatest HR team anybody could ask for. Cotton is here, and she's the best work-wife partner that anybody could ask for. I'm just so grateful for everybody. Madison is an awesome place to work, and I think anybody that's here can agree to that. It's a wonderful place to work. I'm honored and grateful to be here, and I thank you very much for this award. And thank you to my husband and my son for being here tonight. It's not an easy trek to make it out here, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Our next recipient is Dale Wank, Maintenance and Transportation Carpenter at the Madison District Office. Dale is the district's carpenter, but he is so much more than that. He's the guy you call and ask, "Can this be fixed?" He works behind the scenes, unseen by most of us, when he arrives early in the morning to make our schools ready for the coming day. He's committed to keeping spaces safe. Without being asked, he looks out for things that could go wrong and then fixes them before we knew to ask. He's never satisfied with doing just enough. Everything he touches reflects the pride he has. If Dale is going to do it, then it's going to be done right. Yet these aren't the reasons he's receiving this award. He goes so far above and beyond what is expected, and that is why he deserves to be recognized. If we have a plant manager out sick, Dale will be there in the morning getting the school open for our kids. When anyone on the maintenance team needs an extra pair of hands, we'll always find Dale there helping out. And when tensions run high, Dale is the calm voice of reason that we need to keep our focus. Our craft maintenance team can do amazing things because we have people like Dale, someone we can always count on. Thank you, Dale, for being our shining star. Dale's manager, Kyle, will accept this award on his behalf.
I'm nearly as good looking, so I think I can stay. Here. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
All right, now on to item 4.2, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Baca, will you give your report?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Governing Board and Executive Team. I just have one thing to report. Next week is the official Teacher Appreciation Week. However, traditionally in Madison, we celebrate all staff since we know that regardless of one's job title, everyone in Madison contributes to the success of every student. D'Angelo once stated, "Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow." So to all of our teachers and staff who inspire passion for leading and learning in an ever-changing world, on behalf of the Governing Board, thank you for your commitment and dedication to Madison, its students, families, and our entire community. As I've heard very often, not all superheroes wear capes. Some work in schools. So thank you to every Madison employee for being our superheroes. And then just one other thing, go Suns. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Holcomb, anything to report?
I have nothing to report tonight.
Ms. Grisham? Grisham, excuse me.
Sí. Quiero decir gracias a los estudiantes de Madison Heights para su presentación. Buen trabajo. To show off. And if you haven't seen Coach Van Wee's videos, the quarantine videos, they are hilarious, so you should definitely check those out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spear?
I don't have anything to report.
Oh, Ms. Cosby, I'm sorry. I kind of made eye contact and then
In respect to our president and our superintendent, who seem very excited about an upcoming game of some type, I'm going to say I have nothing to report other than to congratulate teachers on a really handling a challenging year with so much grace and dignity and love. We're so appreciated. Thank you.
So despite that, I have a 42-page report I'd like to read. And I will start, nothing to report, and we have a busy agenda today, so we'll get right into it. All right, now on to item 5.1. Ms. Humphrey, do we have any calls to the public? All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. I'll second.
Ms. Spear and Ms. Grisham. Please vote. All right, the motion has been approved. Now on to item 7.1, Summer Academic Remediation Plan. Dr. Baca, will you introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team. I'm happy tonight to have Ms. Marshall introduce her team, who will be going over our summer school plan for remediation. Ms. Marshall?
Thank you, President Osborne, members of the board, and members of the executive team. We are pleased through the ESSER funds to be able once again to offer an academic program for students over the summer. So Dr. Winters and his team will talk about that academic intervention. And we are also pleased to have an inaugural summer program for our Spanish programs. And Casey George, our director for signature programs, will then highlight and overview what that program will be about.
All right, Dr. Winter, please present.
Hi, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Baca, executive team. We're going to talk about summer school. I wish I could say that I had the cleverness to think of the themes. Last year we had an Olympic theme. This year it's going to the movies. So it's going to be a blockbuster summer. I'm going to start off, then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ashley Bowman, who is our district literacy coach, instructional coach, but also the elementary coordinator for summer school for our K through 3 students. And then she'll turn it over to Ms. Nicole Scales, who is our district instructional coach, teacher mentor, who is our middle school 4th through 7th grade summer school coordinator. So we're going to start off just talking about some of the organizational aspects of our summer school. Our academics, we're going to focus on math and language arts. We are also going to help with the social emotional aspects of our students by having a social worker / counselor present and presenting lessons throughout summer school to our students. As part of the Native American program, our Native American students will receive cultural enrichment throughout the summer school. And our English language learning students will have some targeted English learning instruction as well. You can see the dates there are the weeks of June 20th, June 27th, July 11th, and July 18th for a total of 16 days. Each class will have up to 16 students with a maximum of 64 students per grade level. Middle school will have 4 teachers per grade level with 2 math and 2 ELA teachers in grades 4 through 7. And like last year, the locations are going to be Madison Kennelview and Madison Meadows. The student day is going to be from 8 to 12. And the teacher day is going to run from 7:30 to 12:30. And we have a coordinator at each campus, as I mentioned, to take care of administrative duties. We're going to follow a similar pattern that we did last year for inviting students strategically to summer school. We've selected some students using our winter map data. That'll be our first round of invites. Off the top of my head, I think it was 532 students total, but don't bet the farm on that number. I think that's what it was off the top of my head. So we'll invite those students first. Last year we got roughly 20% of those students did attend. We will see what happens this year. If staffing is any indication, we'll get more because staffing filled in 11 minutes this year, whereas last year it took several days. So we'll see how that, so I don't have a good prediction if it follows last year's trend. Round 2 will be based on teacher recommendation. And if we have slots available after that, we'll open it up to all of our students, which depending on the grade level last year, that left a few spots in some grade levels and had several in other grade levels. Just depends on how it's going to be. It's going to be a per grade level basis. And then to talk about some of the structure of our academic time, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
Hi, I'm going to talk to you about the academic portion of our summer school. We have 240 minutes a day for 16 days, so we really want to maximize the instructional time that we have. So we have 110 minutes dedicated to ELA and 110 minutes dedicated to math. This is a sample of what our K1 block will look like. We're going to have a heavy focus on foundational skills, specifically with phonological awareness and phonics and decoding. And we're also going to have comprehension. We've purchased Scholastic News that we're going to use as our primary resource for that. We're also going to use some of our curriculum from Wonders for the phonological awareness and fluency and phonics part. And then we're going to move into a station rotation model. We just recognize that 110 minutes is a lot longer than students would have in a typical language arts block. So we want them to be engaged, we want them to be up and moving, we want them to be doing cooperative learning structures and getting to really go through all the pillars of language arts during that time. Our 30-minute writing block for our K1 students is going to really focus on letter formation, sentence writing. Hopefully our first graders will write a paragraph, but those foundational skills. And then I'm going to move it to the next slide. It's going to look somewhat similar for our 2nd through 7th grade students. However, we're taking out the phonological awareness and the phonemic awareness and really focusing on comprehension. We're going to specifically focus on the priority standards that we've identified as a district. And then they're also going to do a station rotation model. They're going to be doing text-dependent writing. We have 2 weeks dedicated to opinion, argumentative writing, and 2 weeks dedicated to expository writing. So the students should be going through 4 writing prompts throughout the summer school. Then our math block is going to start with some whole group number talks, math talks, and data talks. And those are just great ways to build number sense, and they really help to address the mathematical practice standards. And then students are going to engage in problem solving. All of those links are links for our teachers. We send them this slideshow so that they have folders of resources to use for all of this, so they don't have to do a lot of planning. Nicole and I did a lot of that planning for them throughout this semester. So then they're going to do rotations. We've purchased a program called IXL Math. It's adaptive, it's on the computer, and it takes students at their own pace. But we found last year it has a great teacher portion where they can look in real time and see a question that the students are struggling with. They can stop, and then it gives them like a practice problem. They can address it on the moment. It also helps them to group based on skills, because we know there's so many skills in math. What do we focus on for these 16 days? That's going to help really narrow it down. It has a diagnostic that kind of tells what the group needs. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to talk about some of the other things. Oh, you're okay.
Okay. All right, so we're not only focusing on academics, but we're also focusing on the social emotional part of a child. So we wanted to do all parts of the child. So for Native Americans, we have a culture program where twice during the summer time, during our summer program, someone's going to come in and present to them. You know, last year they taught them hula hoop dancing, and then they had to make a mural out of some clay or something. They made a mural. We're also focusing on ELs. So every other day, students will be pulled for 30-minute interventions. And then we have a school counselor, which is awesome, because then they go into our classes and they give students EL lessons during I think it's every other day that they get to have some lessons for SEL lessons. This is a typical day for middle school. We start with breakfast. We have a morning meeting. I go in and get them all excited. Welcome to summer. We're so happy to have you. All this stuff, getting them excited. Then we divide it into 2 halves. They have, for middle school, they either have reading or math. Then they switch. During that time, they have a break. And then they go to their second rotation. There's our lunch schedule, and of course we have dismissal. During the ELA block, they have some weekly challenges or team builders, because summer school is, if you say that, it's, you know, I don't want to go to summer school, so we try to make it exciting for them. And then during math, that's when we have our SEL lesson from the counselor, and they do their movement break, and they have more math. This is the set schedule for elementary, which is a little bit easier because they have ELA, 8:50 to 9:50. They take a break, they have recess, and then they come back and have math, and then they're dismissed.
So we wanted to build in some fun things so that the students looked forward to coming and had some things to look forward to. So we have a team building challenge. Every week, we have a slideshow with 2 different activities we've taken from Kagan's Silly Sports and Goofy Games books. And we have a spreadsheet, and they do 2 challenges per week. The teachers can do it whenever they have time, and they enter their score for that week. We've told them how to score it into a spreadsheet. And we have an award ceremony on the last day. There'll be awards for the winning challenge from each grade level. Then we have an academic challenge too. We have awards for individuals that made the greatest growth in IXL math and the student that read the most minutes outside of class. They have a log that they can log their reading minutes every day. Then we also have class awards for the classes that have done those things. And so this year we're going to call it the Oscars since it's a blockbuster summer. So we're going to have, that's going to be our dress up spirit day where everyone's going to dress up and come to the Oscars on the last day. So we have spirit days every Thursday, which is like our Friday. We have the award ceremony. We have Kona Ice coming to celebrate on the last day. And we really want them teaching from the first day to the last day. So even on day 16, they might be taking some assessments just to measure growth, but there's still going to be lessons on those days with a 30-minute break for some fun too.
Right, so that last day is not just all fun. It's like 3.5 hours of instruction still and a few minutes of fun. And we'll take any questions you might have.
Questions from the group, Ms. Kazi.
So I was just curious, last year, what kind of levels of persistence as far as students that stayed for the entire 16 days, and are there changes that have been made based on what you learned from that last year?
Ms. Kazi, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Baca, executive team, I think there's a few things we can point to. We had a few COVID outbreaks during summer school, and that caused some challenges. We were reviewing something today. Actually, would you say 38% of elementary had 36% had perfect attendance? We had 2 COVID outbreaks in middle school, 1 in elementary, 1 entire school bus at one point. So that was challenging. Is there some wood somewhere? We won't have that this year, but we'll see. And there were several students who came, let's say, the first 2 weeks and then didn't come the second, or vice versa. A lot of parents did reach out to us, and I kind of talked through the pros and cons of that with them. I figured some extra instruction was better than none, so I didn't want to deny anybody who came, but there were challenges that hopefully this year we won't face.
Thank you. I'm impressed with the plan.
Other questions? Mr. Holcomb.
Just real quick, from last year, I mean, how have you been able to track, how successful? Because you've again modeled this on last year, which I understand was successful, but were you able to track the results at all from last year?
Mr. Holcomb, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Baca, executive team, yes and no is kind of the answer. We had some data from the internal programs we had in the summer. If Ashley, you want to address a few of those real quick.
We had IXL. I don't have the sheet with me, but it gave you a report at the end of how many skills were mastered. We know there were over, just in the elementary school alone, 1,788 skills mastered. That means the student wasn't mastering that skill, and then after the instruction was able to meet it. So we know we made a lot of growth, and we had the rep come out and she shared that she saw a lot of progress in math. But we plan in the future to track it using MAP, maybe looking at the end of the year this year, the students that were in summer school and where they performed in the fall. We just felt this year with the students being quarantined and not having a really high attendance rates, it wasn't going to be really valid data. But for reading, we did also have a pre and a post fluency screener for grades 2 and up, and we had a pre and post phonics screener for K1. So the teachers were able to measure some of that progress that way. But we're looking even to see how can we carry that into the year and see how these students perform next school year. We're making a plan for that.
So piggybacking on the answer to Ms. Kazi, it did become somewhat challenging because of the inconsistencies in attendance. If someone was quarantined for 10 days, how does that, did they do better or worse? Or it was difficult, but we're hoping once again that we'll be able to have some better tracking this upcoming school year.
Yeah. The only other thing is, I was somewhat disappointed in the presentation because this is one of the last times we're going to see you up here, and I expected a Jedi or Star Wars theme, and I was just, well, thank you.
Well, I won't be here.
I know, no, that's the whole point.
Ms. Gresham, do you have a question?
No, just a comment. I just want to say it looks like a great program, and thank everyone for your hard work on that.
So, question, and maybe, I know there's about 500 kids identified. Have we talked about maybe a more aggressive plan to get those kids in this year? And I think there's a lot of fatigue last year, and there's probably still fatigue, but I would love to see a more aggressive marketing or arm twisting program to get those kids in, because I think it's important. And then secondly, kind of maybe for Ms. Garvey, or there was the governor's $100 million and we used our ARA funds. Is there some reasons why we didn't use those funds, restrictions? If there's pots of money out there, I always like to see if we can maximize those dollars. So those are my kind of two main questions.
Sure, Dr. Osborne, I can try to address both of those. Members of the board, Dr. Baca, executive team. Yeah, that was a lot of feedback we got from last year was fatigue, that they didn't want to attend. Obviously we can't, quote unquote, make anybody attend, but we will certainly do our best. I actually spoke with a parent just a few hours ago about that very thing, but we will do our best to get those students. And judging on the way things have gone, I would anticipate higher than the 20% rate, but I just don't have a good prediction of it. Are you referring to the camp?
Yes.
Thing? After exploring that opportunity, our program did not meet the requirements for those. And if anybody has anything to add to that, feel free. But I did explore that, and it just didn't meet those requirements.
All righty. Any other questions? I think I would like in the fall to maybe have a short report, and it could probably even be in a Friday report, map data to kind of measure the success, and maybe a little bit of a debrief on what went well and what we might want to do if we do this again next summer.
I'll make sure that no, I won't.
No, you won't.
And I think Mr. George is going to continue with the Spanish program, but congratulations to Dr. Winters. He's going on to be superintendent. But we will try not to be mad at him for stealing Miss Scales, who will be a principal in his school district.
Thank you.
Just make sure you get your reports done before you leave.
Well, members of the board, thank you very much. It's been a while since I've been up here. I've missed it. I don't know if you've missed me or not, but I am excited to be here. I am super excited about tonight because this Spanish summer school has been a vision or a plan or an idea for quite some time, and there was always challenges and always things getting in the way, whether it's, well, without getting into the civics, but there's been quite a challenge, and I'm so excited that we have this. But the purpose has changed. See, before, we wanted a summer school because we wanted to open it up to the entire community and have this wonderful displayed program, and we have kids outside the district come and participate and see the wonderful teachers, the wonderful things that we're doing, the materials that we have, the concepts that we have, and say, hey, you mean I can get this all year? And it's actually a recruitment to show for Heights, but Heights is now bursting at the seams. And now, as the director of signature programs, I would love to take credit for that, but the truth of the matter is, in all honesty, the reason that Madison Heights is so successful is because of its principal. And I'm not just saying that because she's here, but Ms. Gossett has done a tremendous job of producing, really honestly, a top-tier Spanish immersion. We had visitors this year from another district come and talk specifically to her and ask her, for her advice and help and such. We made sure that they did not try to steal her. But at the same time, I do really attribute that to it. But the purpose has changed. There was still a huge demand from our own parents to, can you please have this? And we were struggling this year. What's the number one concern is getting people to work, the employees to watch it. So we just thought outside the box, and the goal really is to provide a Spanish experience during the summer for our Spanish immersion students, but we also opened it to the outside as well. The basics of the program, and this happened like a month ago. So this was created like a month ago. We have grade levels 1st through 4th. As we surveyed parents and talked to parents, this was where the demand was. There was not a lot of demand for a Spanish summer school for 5th through 8th. Now, we're not giving up on that, but we're thinking a little different type program in the future, something maybe where they go. I mean, kids go to Klingon camp, for goodness sakes, for whatever. We can have a Spanish camp out in a camp area for 2 weeks where it's overnight, maybe. That's a potential for those upper grade kids, something they would like to do. Parents in this case can sign up for 1, 2, or 3 weeks. And it's the first 3 weeks in June. So it's our first baby steps towards having a Spanish summer program. Again, we did a lot of surveying to find out when parents need and want this and when do we have teachers available. We hired certified staff and we paid them well. We paid them the same as what they would earn doing summer school. It has a similar time. I didn't know that exactly, but it's 8 to noon. It's a cost families $150 a week. We actually try to minimize the amount of cost parents. We're not looking to make money on this. Although I have to say, after the first night, we were in the black. So there is a demand for this. It's self-sustaining. The location is at Madison Heights. Again, we use certified Spanish teachers have been hired. These are our numbers. These are a little bit old. I have to give this presentation ahead of time. And so it's actually increased a little bit more. This is how many people have signed up in first grade for week 1, in first grade for week 2, et cetera. You can see as you get older, there's less. So we might combine the 3rd and 4th grade together. And that's one thing that we can do. We've already, when we asked certified staff and when we agreed to pay them what we did, there was a demand. There's still people wanting to teach Spanish summer school because of what we were able to do with pay. The purpose, before I go on to questions, I think I didn't mention a key aspect. I didn't get into the details of what it looks like because that's still being designed. But the purpose is a fun atmosphere where they are immersed in Spanish. It is not heavy curriculum at all. They'll be practicing their reading, their writing, their speaking, their listening skills. Those are the 4 main areas. So we have activities where, in fact, if you look at my first picture, I just pulled it off the internet, but they are doing fun activities where they're interacting in Spanish. So it's not heavy curriculum. We want the kids to walk away saying, can I go back tomorrow? Not, that was hard, I don't want to go back. So the whole program itself is still, we're still designing exactly how we're going to do it, whether it's with different groups. We definitely have a rotation type basis because the attention span of kids and the age appropriateness type things. So still working on that, but the purpose is to have fun and engaging activities in Spanish. Questions?
Do we have questions? Go ahead, Ms. Spear.
I don't have a question so much as a congratulations on both the Spanish summer school opportunity as well as the summer program that Dr. Winters and his colleagues talked about. I think it's wonderful. And, you know, as a parent, I was always looking for opportunities to have my kids engaged. And something like this is, I'm sure, a boon to the families at Madison Heights. And just congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Ghazi.
So I'm just curious, where have you, other than to our current families, where else have you been marketing?
I might have to turn that over because what I said, because I am not an expert marketer, so I'm like, hey, I want to open this up. And so I went to Nicole, and then Nicole got all the details from me. And I don't know if you would like to mention and speak to that.
Please come
Because
on
I'm
up.
impressed with the numbers.
I'm a little short. Member Kazi, members of the board, executive team, Dr. Baca. So we actually shared this flyer. Jacqueline created a beautiful flyer, which I'm happy to share with you. We shared this out via Peach Jar, so it went to all of our families. Hopefully you received that flyer. And we also shared this out on social media. And I was hoping to get with Mr. George again to see if we needed to, push this out even further, start some marketing campaigns depending on our numbers. So I will get with him, and if we need to push this out more, we will.
No, great. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll just say thank you, Mr. George. As a Spanish immersion parent, we used to meet regularly, and we have been trying to get this for a long time, so it's very exciting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get middle school eventually. We'll try.
Oh, next year, that's the idea. So next summer.
Well, and it will be interesting to see if we can look at some of those students. Do they do better? Because I assume in Spanish, not speaking Spanish, over the summer, you probably see a big drop off, and having that continuity probably will help quite a bit.
Yeah, and that will help, and it just gives more opportunities to be immersed. It's not more opportunities in Spanish or just getting more Spanish instruction, it's being immersed. And so, yes, that is absolutely correct. I don't know if we can have the ability to really determine the data on that. That's really kind of tough to see, cause and effect. We'd have to compare maybe the pre-test data that could be a challenge because we don't test as often in Spanish as we do math and such. But yes, that would be interesting to look at.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, now item 8.1, new board policy, professional support staff accrued leave. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team. This is a change in policy as a first read. This is actually being proposed that we return to the policy that we had pre-pandemic. Specifically removing the COVID-19 leave section that is set to expire on June 30th of this year, plus also no longer fronting the accrued leaves that we had done for many of our staff, especially for our classified staff. It would remove that, and we would be returning to pre-pandemic practices. So if you have any questions, if not, we'll bring it back for action at the next board meeting.
Any questions? The only comment I would have is if at some point we do see a very steep rise in cases, another wave, then we may want to revisit that. But at this point, I think we're starting to unravel the COVID years, which is a very good thing. Questions, comments? Alrighty, on to our action item agenda 9.1, superintendent budget recommendations. And are you going to be presenting this jointly?
We'll be doing that.
Go ahead.
Ready? Okay. Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team, on the budget recommendations, I want to go over a few things. The first thing would be, since the slide advancer is not working, I'm going to go like this so Danielle can control it for me.
I think it's the operator.
Just an overview is a summary of our April 12th governing board meeting, as well as what was presented in terms of state funding and projected budget and the recommendations that were offered by both our IBN team and budget advisory committee. As I move forward, I want to assure you that as Dr. Guerin transitions into the job, and because she has to live with the budget that's being recommended tonight, we worked closely to ensure the recommendations are aligned to what I am recommending and what she supports. So just an acknowledgement to our staff that served on our IBN committee, as well as those staff, community, and parents who served on our budget advisory committee as well. On April 12th, we shared the projected budget and we discussed the IBN recommendations that affected both M&O and non-M&O funding. We went over the budget advisory recommendations, and then there was the discussion that you had specifically with Ms. Garvey and Dr. Lomeli, since they led the budget advisory committee and IBN teams respectively. Ms. Garvey shared that when we look at our projected budget, although we have a slight decrease in ADM, we are increasing our projected revenue by $817,000 because of the inflationary factor, as well as the classroom site fund carry forward. And then when you look at our commitments, you see that we are decreasing the amount that will be spent in staffing, as well as the decrease in the employer contribution to the ASRS retirement. And although our medical insurance did slightly go up, nowhere were we predicted, only 2.5%. So we're decreasing our expenditures by $459,000, and when you combine that with the projected revenue increase, then that means we have just over $1.2 million of revenue. So when IBN made their recommendations, you can see the list there in terms of where 3 of those areas come from M&O and then the 2 outside of M&O. So when it affects maintenance and operations, it's just over $1.2 million. But when you combine it with ESSER fund and other funds, it's just over $1.28 million. With budget advisory, you see the list that they are recommending in terms of the salary increase and money towards the decompression, as well as paid holiday for certain classified staff members, and then increasing the pay for substitutes who teach in our Spanish immersion and Spanish electives. So budget advisory is just recommending over $1.2 million in their budget recommendations. And then we discussed if additional funds should become available to be able to go to salary increases or noon duty aids. And then just a reminder that they said we could either, on the 100th day, if we increase by 100 students, it could either go in the form of a stipend or right into the salary schedule. So here are the recommendations that I'm presenting to you tonight in alignment with Dr. Guerin. So for our maintenance and operation, we are recommending a 3% salary increase. The money going towards decompression of $241,000, classified holiday pay just over $12,000, and then $12,000 for the bilingual subpay. That's out of the M&O. Non-M&O out of ESSER funds would go to the student behavior support, as well as an increase in pay for teachers who are in a sub-rotation. And then if additional funds become available, we agree it should go either to a salary increase if there are enough funds, and that's about $325,000 or more for a 1% raise. And if not that amount, then that we can supply each school with an additional noon duty aid. And then if we increase ADM by 100 students on the 100th day, rather than embedding it into the salary schedule, we are recommending that it go as a stipend. So when you look at the recommendations, you'll see the revenues and expenditures. There still will be a carry forward of just over $35,000. And then with the non-M&O funds, an expenditure of just over $53,000. So with that, I ask that the governing board approve the budget recommendations for the 2022-2023 school year.
So questions, comments, and just maybe an initial question. That $35,000 carry forward, that's not the total amount we're carrying forward. Just to be clear for the public, because I don't think we'd ever want to run quite that
That's
lean.
correct. Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team, that goes in addition to what we will be carrying forward, which is about 4%.
And I
Right, 4%,
assume
around there.
you feel comfortable that we have enough in reserve, given the inflationary nature of everything, that we have enough cushion that if we have some unexpected cost increases, that we'll have enough to cover.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bach and executive team, yes, we have enough. Our carry forward will be actually probably higher than the 4%, but it will be, if you were to back out all the expenses that were transferred into ESSER and bring them back in, it brings it down to 4%. So we have some of that wiggle room in there between the two amounts in case we would experience either a loss in ADM or any unexpected anticipated costs.
Questions, other comments?
Related to Dr. Osborne's question, maybe Ms. Garvey can answer. Does the ESSER, we have a certain period of time to use those, right? So we have some are a year out, some are 2 years. Can you clarify?
Yes. Mr. President, Ms. Gresham, members of the board, Dr. Bach and executive team, each of the ESSER funds has a different time period for which it covers. ESSER 1, we are done with ESSER 1. It went through this September, but all the monies are exhausted. In ESSER 2, it goes through September of 23, and ESSER 3 goes through September of 24. And we are now probably, after this fiscal year, we'll be left with only our ESSER 3.
Ms. Kazi.
I'm just curious, so it's almost May, just how comfortable we are with ADM projection, the loss projection, based on what our current enrollment for next year is looking like right now.
Ms. Causey, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team, we've already done the staffing. And so when we look at the staffing that's been done through human resources, we decreased by 7 overall. So we're comfortable that regardless of where ADM is, we're going to expend that on staff. We're anticipating what we've seen in the enrollment reports. It still continues to creep upward, which in previous years, it was the opposite. So I'm confident that we'll continue to be able to increase enrollment as projected.
Mr. Holcomb?
And if I may follow up on that, if we do hit the additional 100 ADM, that increase will be fully funded.
That is correct? Sir, Mr. Osborne, I'm sorry, Mr. Holcomb, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. if I'm understanding your answer correctly, yes, if we increase by 100 students, the amount that's going to be expended for stipends, there will still be enough, more than enough money that we draw from additional students. So it's not going to all be taken up and then given to in the form of a stipend, because we'll actually have more in the form of M&O funding that comes to us as a result of that increase.
Do you have a question?
I had a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Spear.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the IBN and also the Budget Advisory Committee and also Dr. Baca and the whole team and also Dr. Guerin. Thank you so much for participating in this exhaustive process. It is always, every year, such a balance to try and find a way to attract and retain staff, but also work within the confines of a budget that is also often undefined as a result of the state legislature. So I just wanted to say thank you. I am confident I'm comfortable and feel good about this budget, and I just wanted to say thank you so much.
All right. With that, Ms. Gresham.
Sorry, I have one last question. On the optional ones, if we somehow, by some miracle, the state decides to fund more, are those in order? Like the salary increase, or that goes first, and then if there's enough, the second one, or how does
Ms.
that work?
Gresham, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team, they're not in rank order. Really, there's two, either enough for an increase in salary. So if we get 325 or more, you would do it by that percentage. But if not, then it would be the noon duty age. What I would recommend is, as that comes forward, then we see how much we have, and do we give hopefully an additional percentage salary raise and enough for noon duty aid. It just depends on what is there.
So what I'm hearing, Dr. Baca, is we'll have another action item at some point when we make those decisions. So it's kind of loosely budgeted, so to speak.
That is correct.
Okay. With that, can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the superintendent's budget recommendations for the 2022-2023 school year as presented.
I will second.
I have a motion by Ms. Kazi and a second by Ms. Spear. Please vote. And in explaining my vote, I'm feeling more and more optimistic that we're going to see additional funding from the legislature, and maybe a fairly significant amount. The bad news is it may take till June 30th to find that, but I'm feeling a little bit better about additional funds. So hopefully we'll have another special meeting to dole out more teacher salary raises or staff raises as well. All right, the budget has been approved. Recommendations have been approved. All right, Dr. Baca, 9.2, the community ed salary schedules.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. As was discussed last board meeting, we were having an issue with whether or not we were able to have more of our families participate in our MAC program. We feel we have some great news for you, and although it will affect rates, it is something that I think the majority of our families understand and are willing to do if that means their kids are able to participate. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Barb Marshall, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Dr. Baca, Dr. Osborne, members of the board, and members of executive team. As you know, our community education program consists of two main programs for families: our early childhood program, which is our preschool ECP, and then our before and after school Madison Adventure Club, our MAC program. And these programs have always been self-sustaining through the tuition rates of our parents. So as Dr. Baca said, we have been talking about this and had the formal information item at the last board meeting, but we have seen that there is a staffing crisis in our community education program. Although the pay for our employees is above minimum wage, it is not competitive with outside organizations that are able to pay even higher rates than we are for minimum wage type jobs. So we talked at the last board meeting in general about a lot of the program needs and so on. And this is actually a frequently asked questions that's available on our district website, including that section on how Madison families can help. And I just want to do that shout out for the parent organizations and the parents who have been recruiting staff, and it has helped us to get through the year with a Band-Aid approach. But we feel we have a solution that can help us move forward. So a few of the options that we talked about at the last board meeting, the program that we currently run for our before and after school program is a licensed program. And then we talked about how we can recruit and retain to get staff. That licensed program comes with that 1 adult per 20 children ratio, and some of the other components that are involved in that. One thing I will point out is that there is a DES child care grant that we would not be eligible for if we were no longer a licensed program. So we do feel that we have an option to share tonight that will allow us to remain a licensed program so that we wouldn't lose out on those additional funds that are available. And again, that outcome, we want to serve as many families as possible. We know we have more families on the wait list for next year than we've actually enrolled in the program, and whether licensed or not, to continue to offer a quality program. So some of the options that we talked about, obviously, for that recruitment and retention of staff would be the salary. So here you can see our current salary ranges for the MAC workers. Our club leaders are the employees who are actually working with those groups of students. And then for our campuses that have high enrollment, there's an assistant site coordinator along with the site coordinator. And then you'll see 2 different site coordinators listed, because on our elementary campuses or Madison Park, which houses our Madison Traditional Preschool program, those site coordinators oversee both the early childhood program and the MAC program. So that's why you're seeing the separate coordinator proposed rates. So you can see the current rates, and then where we're seeing private industry that's offering up to $15, $18 an hour for those minimum wage type jobs. We took a look at that, and can we start at a $15 an hour to be able to compete? That $15 an hour that we're looking at would be about a 17% increase from our current starting pay, and then that increase of 14.5%, almost 15%, 13.5%. So very healthy increases that we feel will help us not only retain but recruit staff. Of course, to be able to pay those increases, that would come from those tuition rates. As we said, these programs are self-sustaining through the tuition rates that we receive. So in the proposal would be an approval needed for a new rate schedule. What I'm showing you here is just a sampling. These are the rates if parents choose 5 days a week. Now, our MAC program is very flexible. For example, we have some families that just need the early release Wednesdays, and they can just pay for those days. Families that might need 2 days a week, 3 days a week, up to the 5 days a week. But what I'm showing you here as the sample would be the 5-day per week rate. So you can see, again, the different rates, because our middle schools get out later in the day. There are less hours that need to be covered until that 6 p.m. from our elementary schools, and then our K-8 traditional campus, which gets out at 3 o'clock. And so again, there's differing hours, and that's where you're seeing those different rates come in. So you can see the current rates that we have and what the proposed rates would be that we feel we would need to be able to comfortably cover those salary increases that are proposed. And so those rates for the MAC are less than 10%, but it obviously an increase for families depending on whether they're at an elementary or a middle school, but it's about a 10% increase in that. The ECP program would be over 11% increase that we're proposing. However, that preschool rate still keeps us near the bottom of our surrounding preschools, and including a preschool that charges up to $1,400 a month. So those preschool rates are very high, and so this still keeps us at the low end. The MAC rates would put us more toward the high end, but not at the highest of the surrounding area. And then we also have a half-day program that we offer families in the early childhood program, and that rate would also have a spike increase as well. That one is a 22% increase for families that would just need the half-day program. So with that, we do feel that we would be able to keep the licensed program if we had the new tuition rates. So what we would ask of the governing board is to approve the new salary schedule for 22-23 for community education. So this would be a separate salary schedule from other Madison employees. That would also necessitate approving the new fee schedule for the tuition rates for families. Where I showed you the 5-day rates, the other attachment that's with this presentation is the full rate schedule, so parents do have access to that. By doing this, we can add 400 of the 546 students off of the wait list, and that's considering that we would be an unlicensed program where we would come back and recommend to the board that we increase those ratios to about what our class sizes are. So we feel comfortable that we can get 400 students from the wait list right now, but we would like to hold off and maintain that DHS licensing because we do feel that with this new salary schedule that we would be able to retain the staff. If we can retain 75% of our staff and then recruit more, we are comfortable that we would then be able to get these other families off of the wait list as well. If we're seeing that that's still not enough to draw our workers, we would come back in June to revisit that licensing agreement where we feel the staff that we have right now would cover the families, including that additional 400 off of the wait list, but under a new ratio agreement. And with that, I'll take your questions.
And before we go, so thank you to Ms. Marshall and Ms. Bradley for working on this. I just want to reassure you that before you ask the question, we could maintain some of the licensing at our schools, especially the ones that do receive the DES reimbursement for families who are financially in need.
Ms. Kazi?
So just remind me, it's a voucher for the ECP DES. Is it a voucher or is it a subsidy?
The DES are for the early childhood program, we are part of the Quality First program, and so there are both scholarships that are available through that, as well as that DES subsidy. And then the families work directly with DES for their qualifying rate, and then DES picks up the balance for the district.
So as long as we stay licensed, at least in those schools where the need might be high, then we're still in a very affordable rate as far as you believe. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, especially in comparison with after-school programs and early childhood programs that are in the area.
Well, I just want to say thank you because obviously we've all heard that this is a big issue in our community. And it's some really creative solutions, and it's just to see how fast we'd be pulling students off the wait list is quite extraordinary. So thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Gresham?
Just to clarify, so with these new rates, and then we will see how many more staff we can hire, and then we'll start pulling people off the wait list as we hire more. Is that the plan?
That would be the plan. So right now, we ran the numbers, and if we have 75% of the existing staff return, we would feel comfortable coming to the board with the proposal to look at licensing to get families off the wait list. We're feeling very confident that this new salary schedule would allow us not just to retain 75%, but even more, and to attract new employees.
Thank you. And my other question, was, oh, no, I just forgot it. Okay.
We can come back to you. Mr. Holcomb.
Yeah, I also really appreciate the creativity and really trying to aggressively attack this issue. I think that's very important, and I appreciate it. You said several times that you're very confident about that the salary will actually get us the workers that we need. Can you give us a little bit more about what the basis of that confidence is?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holcomb and members of the board and executive team. Ms. Breiling has been proactive in communicating with the employees through the MAC program of the proposal that we're recommending, and she has already had a majority of the staff that have indicated that they are already planning to return based on this proposal, and another several that said they do want to wait to see, because not only are we proposing that range increase, but as you saw through Dr. Baca's presentation, that decompression. So our current workers would be placed somewhere within that range, and they're kind of waiting to see where that range would be. And then, of course, we do have expected turnover in the program with students who are graduating. We get a lot of high school and college students, so there are some that are expected, but those have indicated that they are not leaving due to the salary. They're leaving due to life circumstances.
And if I can follow up, I just want to make sure I follow the math too, because you've said several times if we maintain 75% of our employees, we feel this, but we've been at a shortage level beforehand. So I'm wondering the relationship between, the fact that we've been short workers, but we're basing this on the idea that we can retain 75%. Is that related to turnover, or how do those numbers interact?
That retention that we're looking for with that 75% that would be to then come back to the board and ask to look at the licensing, which would allow us to increase the ratios if needed. So if we lost 25% of our club leader workforce by increasing those ratios at some of the schools, we would be able to keep the families off of the wait list.
So I think I'm confused. If we're building capacity, I think the assumption is we're bringing on more employees. Am I understanding that right?
Dr. Osborne, let me see if I can tackle this. So what you're having is two circumstances. The current circumstance of the students who currently are in MAC that we don't kick off simply because we don't have enough employees, right? So what we were coming to you initially was the number we could accept with the current number that we had. But with taking into account what Ms. Breiling does, taking into account the turnover that would take place over the summer of employees that will leave. Historic turnover. This changes that in a higher number returning and possibly returning to be able to call those off the wait list. The better news would be if we hire even more employees, we could possibly call off even more people off the wait list. So it was more of the crisis we were in was the estimation of the demand versus what we thought we might lose in terms of employees and not have enough to be able to run the program in the manner that we have. Now the issue is, and does that give us enough employees to continue to be licensed at the schools that are in most need? And if we need to, we can keep certain schools licensed, and 3 of our schools would be unlicensed, so we could increase those ratios. But there's the possibility, if we retain and recruit, that we may not even have to do that at those sites.
Mr. Holcomb, does that clarify things for you?
Yeah, that helped a great deal. Thank you.
A related question. We had talked earlier about having more flexible work schedules, more part-time. How is that being rolled out, and has that started to hit yet as well? I assume for our college students and other folks whose schedules vary a little bit more.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Baca, and executive team. We have rolled out Club Leader Flex position, which is a very flexible position, and Ms. Rodriguez has actually put together an ad campaign to attract college students, high school students. We want to get as many employees as possible, and they can work a very flexible schedule. If it's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, this Club Leader Flex is new. It's rebranding our Club Leader position to attract those employees or candidates that do other things. So we're pretty excited about that. And I think now with the new higher rate, we're much more competitive with other jobs that those students might typically take.
And I have to give Ms. Broyling credit for reminding us that currently we still have some that work some of the days, not all of the days, and that's why the formula of how many club leaders we had per students wasn't exact, because not all of them work every single day.
Okay,
Ms. Gresham?
I remember my question. Just for my own knowledge, when is the licensing renewal done? Like what time of year do we have to do, is that due?
It varies by site.
So the public hears it varies by site.
So depending when their last one was?
Correct.
Thank you.
And I will add to that, we have licensed the entire campuses in previous years. For the past several years, we've licensed the entire campus. Previously, we were licensing certain rooms to be used, but that's given us greater flexibility as well.
Other questions, comments? If not, I'll be happy to take a motion to item 9.2.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So Mr. Holcomb and Ms. Gresham, please vote. All right, now on to item 9.3, the 2022-23 salary ranges. Dr. Baca.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. You're going to vote on them separately, but 9.3 allows us to then have you approve the staff contract template so that we can issue those contracts and work agreements to our employees. But 9.3 are the salary ranges and extra duty pay for our other positions. As you know, you approved that for our certified teachers, and this is for other classified and certified staff in order to have HR extend those staff contracts and work agreements to our employees. So we're asking that you approve the extra duty pay schedules and the salary ranges. It also includes the 3% raise for our teachers in order for them to get an amendment to their contract that reflects the 3% salary increase that you just approved.
Any questions or comments, since it's just reflective of the budget we just approved? If not, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 2022-23 salary ranges and the extra duty pay schedules as presented.
Motion by Ms. Kazi. Do I have a second?
I'll second that one too.
Thank you. Ms. Gresham is the second. Please vote. Ms. Spear.
I'd like to explain my vote by letting anyone who is watching online know that we've had an opportunity to review all of this in advance. This is not something we do on the fly. I know it may look like that's the case, but it's not. We go over this in an exhaustive meeting that we have with Dr. Baca, and so we have already had an opportunity to review all of this. Just thought it might make sense to share that. Thank you.
All right, the motion has been approved. Now, related item 9.4, staff contract templates. These are just implementing the same templates. I don't know, Dr. Baca, any color you want to add to this item?
No, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team, the language remains the same, just the dates have been updated.
All right, I will take a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the 2022-23 staff contract templates as presented.
A motion by Ms. Spear.
Second.
By Mr. Holcomb. Please vote. All right, and the motion has been approved. Now on to item 9.5, Construction Services Amendment. Dr. Baca, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. This is the guaranteed max price for office and lobby remodels. If you recall, back in the 2018-2019 school year, we did a safety audit that recommended that in order to improve the safety in our schools and our front offices, that we do some certain work. And so this allows us to move forward with the remodels of our front offices and lobbies.
Any questions, comments? We've been briefed on this in earlier meetings. I'd be happy to take a motion, unless there's questions or comments.
So moved.
Ms. Gresham?
Second.
Ms. Causey with the second. Please vote. All right, now on to item 9.6, construction services contract for cafeterias and concessions.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. This is the guaranteed maximum price for the Madison #1 cafeteria remodel and concessions addition. As you know, we had brought in the previous year the concessions alone, and we promised that we would bring it back under the remodel to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's what this does. So #1 is slated for the remodel of their cafeteria and to be aligned with some of our other schools by adding the concessions for their fields.
All right, do I have comments or questions on this item?
I do.
Oh.
Just a comment, it has nothing to do with the GMP itself, but I would hope that we continue and try to emphasize the fact that we're not building cafeterias anymore. We're building commons and central space as part of our approach towards our building and school design. And with that offhand and unnecessary comment, I would move that we approve this.
All right, do I have, Mr. Holcomb with the motion
I'll second that one.
and Ms. Gresham with the second. And in explaining my vote, I'm very pleased that the Snack Shack will not be the same price as building a Dutch Bros this time. And I think with some creative design, we're able to make it much more cost effective.
It was of a house back in 2021 prices.
And I know. You know, I tried to pitch that one year, but I thought it'd be a nice revenue stream. Ms. Garvey and the other superintendents thought better. All right, the motion has been approved. All right, now on to item 10.1, discussion of future meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. For May 10th, just a reminder, we're going to start at 5 p.m. for a recognition ceremony at the Madison Center for the Arts, followed by the regular governing board meeting. So if you can be there a little bit early so that we can get you situated and recognize our employees and students for this past semester. Something that we will be bringing to you as information item is the consideration for a district additional assistance override. Ms. Garvey will be presenting an update to you to consider for the following meeting to be able to take action. We also will be having our first revision, or I should say another revision of our district budget for the 21-22 school year. Also bringing back the school year calendar to reflect it as some of the changes that have taken place, but this would be for the next 3 years. And unfortunately, we just received the political agenda for fiscal year 22. Usually we bring it as an information item, and then the next meeting as an action item. We have to bring it to you as an action item because it's due before the next meeting of May 24th, so it has to come together. So I will be sending you out last year's political agenda for you to review ahead of time in order to be able to take action and have a discussion on May 10th.
Always shrewd to vote on next year's agenda before you're finished with this year's agenda.
And then finally on May 24th, just a reminder, because our promotion ceremonies start at 5 p.m., that regular board meeting will begin at 3 p.m.
All right, comments, questions, additional items for the near term? Okay, with that, we can move on to item 11, adjournment.
So moved.
Ms. Beer and Ms. Causey with the motion and second. I think Ms. Kazi wants to go to sleep after driving for 9 zillion hours. All right, the meeting is adjourned.